As many of you know, the border crisis this particular time that gets the most notice is along Texas. But just like Congressman Gosar and myself, there are other states. And in the case of California, as the only Republican with a, if you will, a border presence right now in California, I'm acutely aware that the work that was done by former member Congressman Duncan Hunter Sr. to build the wall wasn't an accident. It wasn't done on the spur of a moment. It was done over more than a decade, and it was done for environmental reasons. And we fought the environmentalist who tried to stop us from actually putting the fence up, claiming that this was sensitive land. Well, tens or hundreds of thousands of traffic of human beings went back and forth across the border, trampling sensitive plants and animals. So we made a lot of progress, but as some of you know, there are 38 openings currently in our 20-mile, if you will, urban fence. And then, of course, many areas that were not completed at the end of the Trump administration. Those 38 openings mean that once again, we have the kinds of trampling that are going on back and forth across the border. But I want to briefly sort of use this opportunity to say sometimes the greatest environmental disaster isn't the one from last week or the week before, but in fact, in this case, for more than 40 years, as the population of Tijuana and surrounding area has actually grown to be larger than the population of San Diego, America's 7th largest city, the Tijuana River, the American River, but particularly the Tijuana River, has become effectively a sewer for the city of Tijuana and surrounding areas. As a result, our Navy SEALs every day are in water that is environmentally unfit. Our beaches are closed on a regular basis, more than half a year. And it is a health crisis for the people of San Diego and surrounding areas. That is going on every day. The Trump administration under USMCA negotiated to rectify this after more than 40 years. Nothing has been done by the incoming administration, just the opposite. They put it on the back burner. I've talked to the consulates on both sides. They have no progress report, and that's part of what we're dealing with. So today, as we're looking at the 178,000 apprehensions and far more that got away, and when we say apprehensions, as Mr. Judd would tell us, that's Walmart greeters and Uber drivers after they're apprehended. But I think we want to also look, and this committee has a key role, at the ongoing environmental crisis that is not being addressed. That's been essentially abandoned, even though in a hard-fought negotiation, Mexico has agreed to do that. My region, like some others, has massive amounts of rusting steel sitting there. All it has to be is tilted up. I do have one thing that's a little unusual in my region that has been a problem. We actually have electric gates that are now propped open. So some of the areas that are actually finished have now been opened. As all of you know, San Diego is the busiest land port in the United States. That traffic is carefully designed to protect the environment, while these 38 openings are not. So, Mr. Judd, I'll start with you quickly. When we look at environmental issues along California, Arizona, and Texas, New Mexico, aren't we also looking at an inability to go forward with those projects that are going to be needed to clean up the border, whether it's sewage in San Diego or other things moving forward? And of course, as many have said, the actual amount of destruction and garbage that's left by migrants heading north.
I can't even count how many times you've been to the border. You've been down there, you've looked at it. You've studied it, you've seen it, not just the Tijuana River, but the New River, all of this sewage that is flowing into the United States that is coming from Mexico, where there's just not the political will to deal with it. You know, if we don't have more people that are like-minded like yourself, that are willing to actually go down and look at the issue, study the issue, we're never going to solve the problem. But as long as this problem persists, United States citizens will be harmed.
Well, very true. Maybe something you could comment on, because I know you know it firsthand. What Border Patrol agents who have to go into the Tijuana or the New River, what they have to do when they get out with their contaminated clothes?
You have to get rid of them. I worked in El Centro. That's where I started my career. I started my career in El Centro, California. If I even got close to the Tijuana River, if I got any of that water, I would have to get rid of that uniform. I just couldn't use that uniform anymore. We have to go through an extensive process. If you go into those rivers, you have to go through an extensive decontamination process, because that's how bad those rivers are.
Well, you know, I want to thank you for your years of service and for continuing to be a voice that we can rely on. You know, Mr. Gosar and I have commented on more than a few occasions about what's already starting to happen in the way of reversal of policies. But I think the most important one that I want to comment on today is we're losing the men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE. The numbers are literally dropping because of the way they're being treated. And that means that, like so many, including yourself, we're going to lose people who can in fact look out for the environment, make sure that that these areas are being protected. I want to close with just one quick thing. You know, San Diego is an interesting border because many of the areas, it's federal land. In almost every case, when you cross the border illegally, you're actually crossing onto private land. And so I think for Mr. I think it's Johnson and others in San Diego, you have our greatest respect and sympathy for the fact that all along the San Diego border, the private land is effectively a no man's no-go. There's no agriculture, there's no ability to have cattle or horses, because right now with the passing through of undocumented, there's no way to do it. So there are tens, or probably more like hundreds of thousands of acres that are in fact off limits to the very people who own them. And that's going to continue until we change these policies. So I want to thank both the ranking members for hosting this. And with that, I yield back.
I thank Mr. Issa. I appreciate it. And now I go to Ms. Bobert in Colorado.